the final chapter of Betty Boop in Snow White, assisted by Bimbo and Coco. Today we're reading chapter 11. The Coffin of Glass. When he saw what had happened, Bimbo crawled out of his bed and tried to go to the dwarfs for help. But he was still so weak that he could get no farther than the front yard, where he lay and whimpered miserably. The dwarfs, when they came home in the evening, found them both lying on the ground. Bimbo was breathing, but no breath came out of Snow White's mouth, and she was dead. They lifted her up, sought if anything poisonous was to be found, cut her laces, combed her hair, washed her with water and wine. But all was of no avail. The poor child was dead and remained dead. Then they laid her on a bier and sat all 7 of them around it and wept and lamented 3 whole days. And then they would have buried her, but that she looked still as if she were living, with her beautiful, blooming cheeks. So they said, "We cannot hide her away in the black ground." And they made a coffin of clear glass, so as to be looked into from all sides, and they laid her in it, and wrote in golden letters upon it her name, and that she was a king's daughter. Then they set the coffin out upon the mountain, and Bimbo, who had quite recovered by this time, always remained by it to watch, not even going to the house of the dwarfs for his meals. Food was brought to him daily by the little men as they were going out for their day's work in the mines. And the birds came too, and mourned for Snow White. First an owl, then a raven, and lastly a dove. Now, for a long while, Snow White lay in the coffin and never changed, but looked as if she were asleep, for she was still as white as snow, as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. In the meantime, King Coco, or as he was called now, King Robert the Just, having learned that Snow White's father at last had returned from the wars, went with a group of his trusted counselors to ask for her father, the king, for the hand of the lovely princess. They approached the palace after having been announced at the drawing bridge by a fanfare of trumpets, and were escorted to the good king's presence. But when they mentioned the reason for their mission, the king burst into tears and told them that she had wandered into the woods and had been eaten by wild beasts. This was the story which the wicked queen had taken care to tell him upon his return from the wars. And when the visiting king heard this, he was very sad and sent his counselors home by another way and set out on his charger to ride through the mountain byways with Grief as his only companion. Perhaps it was chance. Perhaps his good fairy was guiding him. At any rate, he chose a path which led to the house of the dwarfs. He saw on the mountain the coffin and beautiful Snow White, his lost love within it. And he read what was written in golden letters upon it.
Princess Snow White.
Then he said to the dwarfs,
Let me have the coffin. I will give you whatever you ask for it.
But the dwarfs told him they could not part with it for all the gold in the world. But he said,
I beseech you to give it to me, for I cannot live without looking upon Snow White. If you consent, I will bring you to great honor and care for you as if you were my brothers.
When he spoke in that way, the good little dwarfs had pity upon him, and not only gave him the coffin, but offered to carry it to his castle on their shoulders. So the little procession started out, with the king drooping sorrowfully over the neck of his white charger, and Bimbo trailing along behind. Now it happened that as they were going along, they stumbled over a bush, and with the shaking, the bit of poison apple flew out of Snow White's throat. It was not long before she opened her eyes, threw up the cover of the coffin, and sat up, alive and well.
Oh dear, where am I?
Cried she. The king answered, full of joy.
You are near me.
He related all that had happened and said,
I would rather have you than anything in the world. Come with me to my castle, and you shall be my bride. We can ask your father's consent afterwards. We have become good friends, and I know he will agree. But I do not dare take any more chances that your awful stepmother will kill you.
And upon the advice of the dwarfs, Snow White was kind and went with him, and their wedding was held with pomp and great splendor. And the king sent invitations to Snow White's father and stepmother to attend the wedding, but he did not tell them who the bride might be. And the wicked queen dressed herself in beautiful clothes and was a lovely sight to see if you did not look into her soul. Then she went to her looking glass and said,
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of us all?
The looking glass actually chuckled as it answered,
Queen, although you are of beauty rare, the young bride is 1,000 times more fair.
Then she railed and cursed and was beside herself with disappointment and anger. First, she thought she would not go to the wedding, but then she felt she should have no peace until she went and saw the bride. And when she saw her, she knew her for Snow White, and for a moment could not stir from the place for anger and terror. Then she gathered her skirts about her and ran out of the hall like a mad woman into the dark forest outside the palace. And Bimbo and the 7 little dwarfs rose quietly so as not to disturb the marriage ceremony, and followed after her. The wicked queen was never seen from that day forth. But when Bimbo and the dwarfs were questioned, they declared that she must have been eaten by wild beasts in the woods. The end. That was a sweet little story, and I'm so glad you joined me for it. Come back soon for our next Big Little Book adventure.
Made of pen and ink, she can win you with a wing. Ain't she cute? Sweet Betty.
See you next time.